Hi Mima, hi Declan. So nice to speak with you on this menswear season. How are you both doing?
Hi, Declan. Thanks for being here. Hi,
Yeah,
Georgie.
thanks so much for joining us.
Hi both. It's been great, and I've just wrapped up Mans and starting couture.
Yeah, you are our man on the ground, so we're really interested to hear kind of how it's all been. I think both of you guide me a little bit, because I think from my side, it really seems like this season was all about clothes. And I know obviously fashion is about clothes, but it's this sense of refinement, going back to this idea of the gentleman craft. This phrase dandyism has been thrown around. What do you guys think?
I think you are very spot on about this. For example, even when I went to the Dior show, it's the first time in a very long while that Kim Jones didn't do a collaboration, and it's about paying tribute to the code of the house and really like pay respect to what like clothing means in a sartorial sense, and sort of like a interpretation of the women's wear into men's wear. I think it's like a theme that I've seen throughout the season.
Yeah, for sure. I love that show.
I was quite happy, not really surprised, but happy to see, as you rightly say, Georgie, that clothes are back, meaning that clothes are more protagonists than the show itself, so it was either digital or IRL, but it was quite simple. Whilst the clothes that look linear and simple, if you can see the details, there's a lot, to be discovered. I think one of the overarching theme was trompe-l'oeil, but not only in, the nakedness photographed on a fabric, a la GmbH, Gautier, whatever, but also the fact that a blazer looked like a blazer, but then it was a cape, or trousers looked like skirt, but they were trousers. J.W. Anderson or Loewe, I don't remember, shoes looking like bags, and vice versa. So there was all these, the gimmicks were in the details, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. So at Loewe, I saw like items like a trench or like a t-shirt, but it's pushed to another level by adding like LED, or like there's the twisted form. So I really think it's great to see that is quite playful in a sense, but it's grounded still.
I was interested in seeing this new, renewed way of doing formality for men, that we saw a lot in Milan, and then we saw in Paris as well. And I know, Georgie, you'll say I'm biased, but I am a lover of Hedminer and what he stands for and what he does. And I'm very happy to say that I think he influenced the new tailoring for men, But also, if you think what Head has done in the past 2 years, I really think it's doing to men tailoring today what Hedi Slimane did 20 years ago. He's changing it, and I profoundly feel that the Zegna show was influenced by that. What do you think about that?
I think like because a lot of brands and designers are pushing like gender fluidity, like at Fendi, at the last few exits, you see like a lot of aesthetics or proportion or styling is taken from women's wear, like translated to menswear. Even like at Dior is the same, because those details and like proportion or like sleeves is interpreted from women's wear. So I think maybe that's where the newness is coming in from.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because while there is this sense of kind of refinery and a twist on tailoring, and definitely kind of blowing the traditional ideas of tailoring and indeed menswear out of the box, there's also this idea of slightly more effeminate masculine tailoring, slightly more effeminate styles, and also slightly sexier styles. I'm very conscious not to use the word effeminate and sexy in the same parameters, but I think brands like, as you say, Dior and Fendi using styles like the Mary Janes or the big gorgeous cutout at the back is bringing this idea of effeminate, slight gender fluidity. Bianca's been doing it for a long time as well, but then there's also this idea of slightly sexy for what we would assume is menswear, like GmbH basically having tiny little caftans and lovely legs. Again, Bianca does a lot of that as well. Y Project, super sexy. Loads of brands, especially Louis Vuitton, showing this kind of underwear above the trousers, like old school 90s hip hop. I just think there's a lot of, as well as a lot of refinement, there's a lot of kind of tongue-in-cheek naughtiness happening.
Yeah, at Louis Vuitton, I remember vividly, like there was almost a look that's like a bridal look, which is kind of major. It's like, oh, I want to
Yeah.
wear. I'm
Yeah,
getting-
with the flowers and everything, with the bouquet and everything. It was a bridal. Yeah. I think it's interesting because also this genderless or effeminate masculinity that started some times ago, and again, you know, from Jonathan Anderson to Bianca Saunders, they were, you know, the pioneer of this. It's moving on in a way that it's probably less, I don't know, I'm going to say something that maybe you guys don't like, but it's a little bit more wearable. So it's not only a narrative that is brought into the table, like let's revolution, let's talk about this, but now it's translated more and more into clothes that even men less fashionistas than people like Declan, men more classic, if we can call it like that, are happy to experience and wear. And I like it.
I'm not opposed to that. I think it's more accessible and it feels less gimmicky, and you feel like you're making less of a statement by wearing it. It's just kind of slightly more commonplace. It's easier.
Talk about more accessible and less of a statement. It's something interesting that I saw at Kenzo yesterday, because it was the first show by Nico. And of course, we all know him, like he was the godfather of streetwear with like Bathing Ape and such a legend. And like under his realm, I think like you still see like the prints and the colors and the pattern in there. But in terms of like silhouette or shape, it's so much more wearable, as in like I can see my strict friends, or like you said, like a less statement making fashion person will be able to
wear.
Yeah, which is a great thing.
I'm glad you bring up the Kenzo Nigo collection because it wasn't received very well, and I actually really liked it. I thought there was this elegant preppiness, and the fact that he did that, I thought it was very nice. You know, he's also the first Japanese new designer of the brand, and for me, in some collection, there was a little bit of South American trends in the. I saw some Peru or Mexico, or am I wrong? Where did I see it as well?
My favorite example of that, which I've been like itching to shout about, is the Junior show. They did a video where they collaborated with Jamiroquai. They worked with a kind of culture group in Mexico to come up with the beautiful knits.
For as design as well, I was looking at the collection, I was thinking of, there was a lot of that. And, you know, he's Salvadorian, I think. He's from South America. But I do think that there's a lot in the details in this season, you know, unfortunately. I mean, and you, Declan, were there and probably you've seen and touched some stuff. There is a lot that needs to be seen from close to be really understood.
Absolutely true. Well, being here, I have the luxury of have like the atmosphere, the music, like you see like the sets and things, but about detail, from what I saw on the video or on Instagram, people that went backstage, there's a lot of details. I think it's almost like couture level, some of it.
Is there something you didn't like during these 2 weeks?
Is there something I didn't like? Whatever that I don't like is sort of filtered out. I only remember the ones that I was like, oh wow, I love to see again. It's like I have like this immune system to bad fashion.
I don't know, and I would like to hear your take on this, but which usually is my favorite brand, and I wasn't keen this season, is Prada.
In what way did you not like it?
I don't like, and this is the purist of me with Miuccia, I don't like, and the world will come down on me for saying this, but I don't like what Raf brings to Miuccia. I like them separately better, and I think one of the things for which I respected her immensely for the past 30 years is that she was setting trends and not following trends, or following the zeitgeist, feeling what's happening in the street and translated it her own way. Now there is a lot of influence from Raf, and so it becomes a little bit more try to follow the trends, and it, for me, it's like tune deaf. Do I make sense, Georgie?
Makes sense. Not sure I 100% agree with you, but I totally understand where you're coming from. For me, I think it's a bit, I agree in that it doesn't feel as original, not original, that's not the right word. It doesn't feel like it's the zeitgeist is the right word. It doesn't feel like it's got its finger on the pulse as much as it did anymore. But I do like the self-referential shapes, because I think on the one hand, yes, we've seen all those ideas before and they do feel a bit contrived sometimes, but ultimately maybe we've seen them before in kind of 90s noughties Prada, but then on the other hand, it feels a little bit rinse and repeat, because it is literally pick 3-4 celebrities of the moment, which they did in the 90s and noughties, put them in a cinched waist, a broad shoulder and a fur trimmed coat, as they did in that previous collection. It was quite a mirroring to the time, and I think on the one hand that could be quite major, but it didn't really translate as well as it could have this time.
Understood.
Like for me, I have a different take on it. Like I'm kind of I'm a very loyal fan of Prada. I would say more before Ralph has taken over. I mean, don't cancel me. But like,
Here, I agree with you.
I think the difference is because for Ralph, I mean, his own line, I love what he does with his own brand. I buy it, I wear it. And then with what he does at Prada, I feel like he has taken that editorial sense to it. Like I would, as a stylist, I would love to shoot it for editorial. I mean, the magic about Menswear is like when you look at the runway, it will be like, oh, what the hell is that? And then it takes a bit of time to digest it. But when you go to the store and when you translate commercially, or if you break it down, it's really like wearable. And then it's like, it's almost like it's quirky, but it's timeless. Like 3 seasons after you revisit it, you still wear it. I think that's the magic of what Menswear had before Ralph has arrived.
Yeah, I just don't want Prada to go in a direction where then people have to say they're copying Demna, because in a way, you know, I don't think it's about copying Demna, but it's about not being the setter of a new style that she's been for all her career, you know.
But I guess that's now kind of the spot of instigator has opened up to brands like Head. I would say Nigo at Kenzo now. There's a kind of new wave of, right, well, how can we push? And I think a lot of brands are now doing, as you say, Declan, that kind of thing where you look at it and you're like, okay, let me think about this, go home, have a look, read up on it, and then you're like, okay, I get it. It's the trendsetter. It's instigating something special, instigating something new.
I feel like great fashion, it really should make you think, and then it will take time to digest. I mean, I'm not personally a fan of like an instant blockbuster like everyone loves. I tend to like walk away from it if that's what I
understand,
because that's what I love about like Menswear, like the nuance and then the thing that it takes time for you to digest before you like it.
So I think what that tells us is that it was quite a strong season despite all the ups and downs and the chaos and some digital, some real. Thank you both very much for chatting about all things Menswear Autumn 2022. I really appreciate it.
It was fun. Thank you, Declan. Thank you, Georgie.
Thank you, Mimma. Thanks, Declan.
Bye.